Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Mac community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, we're starting to wind down the road to Macworld iWorld 2013, which simply means that we're going to start the actual Macworld iWorld 2013 coverage, but we're not there yet. This time we're going to talk to Dan Marcolina. He is the organizer of the iPhoneography event at Macworld, as well as, I think, a tech talk or two and a few other things. Dan, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Yeah, great to talk to you. Thanks for having me.
And this is fun, too. You're in Philadelphia. I don't usually get to talk to other people in Pennsylvania. It's everybody seems to be on the West Coast, so it's nice to talk to someone from my own state.
And as you West Coasters, here's what it looks like for me and Chuck outside here.
Yeah. That's snow, folks, in case you can't tell.
It's snowing pretty good. It's 20 degrees, so we're looking forward to being in San Francisco shortly, leaving on Tuesday morning to get out there.
Dan, do you ever find yourself laughing a little bit at the San Franciscans who at 40 and 45 degrees are bundled up with scarves and gloves and everything?
Well, yeah, I've been out there a few times. It is a change for sure.
Yeah, really. So you are the organizer of the iPhoneography event, and this is really intriguing to me because the iPhone seems to be becoming as much camera as it is phone.
Right, yeah, no, I use it probably more for a camera than I do for a phone, and, in a dark room, really.
Yeah. So what's the iPhoneography event going to be or do for the attendees?
Well, it's all day. I mean, it's from 8 a.m. to 9:30, 10 o'clock p.m., and I've got 15, 16 different speakers from all over the world, and I'm trying to build this as the very first, the biggest event of its type around this subject. Kind of a milestone for maybe the turning point in iPhoneography as as I see it, as a movement in photography itself, as a part of what's sort of like on the level of when black and white film, when color film, was introduced from black and white days, or when Kodak introduced the small camera that was portable and brought the power of image making to the masses. Not only does the iPhone bring it to many more people than, let's say, an old box camera, but it also allows them to create right in the same box and share it from the same box. So it's really an exponential growth of images, some good, some bad, some incredible. And I really wanted this meeting to be representative of all the different things that are going on with the street photographers, the app people, and the people who do the social networking, some of the equipment around the iPhone. There's incredible attachments, third-party gizmos that can extend the lenses or stabilize the camera. They're going to be talking about that. We have some of the best bloggers. Marty Yannick from Life and Lo-Fi is going to be there. Glenn Evans from iPhoneography.com was scheduled to come, but he had to drop out. Probably the most well-known iPhoneography blog in England, well, in the U.S. as well. Jack Hollingsworth, Kochi Hernandez, who's very well known as a street photographer. Star Rush. We have Karen Devine, who does some incredible fine art, along with Cindy, gosh, she's a Philadelphian. I've forgotten her name. I'll get back to that. But Cindy Patrick, thank you, Laura, is coming. So we have, fine art manipulation. We have two book authors, myself, and Stephanie Roberts is going to be there, talking about the whole process of creating books and that kind of thing. So every aspect is covered. And it's really well worth the money if you really want to get up on top of the iPhone game real quick.
So this is not just going to necessarily be iPhoneographers showing off what they do. It's going to be, some of that is going to be, I guess, techniques, like you say, apps, hardware. It really is going to cover the whole gamut?
Yeah, oh yeah. We even have a couple guys, Russell Brown, who's really well known from Adobe, is going to be there, and Juliana Cost, who is another person from Adobe, talking about how to integrate the desktop with the iPad and their PS Touch program. So yeah, we have we have a lot of things planned and a few surprises.
All right, I won't push for the surprises, or they wouldn't be surprises. Dan, I'm always kind of intrigued to talk to photographers and people with some skills, not just the average person on the street. And they wax poetic about their enthusiasm for the iPhone while they sit there and have $2,000 and $3,000 cameras sitting beside them, and they hold up their iPhone and say, "Isn't this great?" It always surprises me. Should I be surprised?
I think it is very surprising. I think it's also, changed a few careers. Like, let's say a guy named Jack Collingsworth, who has been a professional photographer, well-known world photographer for 30 years, is just so passionate about his iPhone. That's all he wants to do. And it's addictive, because it's, especially for people with ADHD like myself, who love shiny new things and can reach out and, instant gratification. It's a very involving process. It really sucks you in, from all the new little apps that come out that you can process. So you have the DSLRs, yes, expensive, great for a lot of things like sports photography, landscape photography, some of the specialty kinds of things. But for the everyday shooting, you always have this thing in your pocket. You can hide it as a sort of a spy camera. People don't necessarily know you're taking a picture. You can find new angles, new perspectives on things that you would never have shot with your DSLR because you didn't have it with you. You have this with you at the most, every moment of your day. You can find art now because you have your phone with you, and you're constantly on the lookout for an image because you can reach in your pocket and take it. So it's very addictive that way. And then also being able to manipulate the image and create something beyond. I think that's really where the unique quality of iPhoneography sits. I mean, there's Photoshop, of course, and digital manipulation's been around for 20 years since I've been a designer, and that's a production tool. It's not necessarily a discovery tool. These apps, these very specific, very easy to use apps, allow you to discover things that you wouldn't have never thought of in Photoshop to even try. And then you start combining these apps together, and you're really sort of sculpting an image. These images, the strength of iPhoneography is the fact that you can manipulate an image to the point where it's sort of like it's very much yours. It's sculpted in ways that you couldn't have really imagined in Photoshop. As a matter of fact, one of the quotes in my new ebook is from a very passionate art photographer from like 1894. I'm forgetting his name, but he finally gave up on promoting photography as fine art because he said that he realized that it wasn't the process of creating pictures was not flexible enough, that you couldn't manipulate it enough. Well, I think we've turned that corner. We've crossed that threshold with the iPhone. And that's why the iPhone is more compelling, because then you can share also right away, instant gratification. That's why it beat the DSLR for a lot of moments.
The fact that we even have the term iPhoneography speaks to the fact that taking photos with an iPhone has been elevated to something a little more than taking photos with an iPhone. It is being seen in so many ways as maybe a different kind of art form or an extension of the photography art form.
Yeah, I really believe that we're on the cusp of a new movement in photography, and I think it will. I sound foolish right now when I say this, and even bite my tongue as I do, but I really think it's going to go down as a very important movement in photography's history. There's these underground pockets of people who are producing amazing work. Like if you go to Pixels at an Exhibition, which is a blog by Knox Bronson, or iPhone Art, you can see some of the things that are going on there. And even if you go into Instagram, one of the downsides, iPhoneography's gotten a sort of a bad name. People sort of dismiss it, especially like fine art photography people, because they think of it as Instagram, meaning you square crop the picture of your cat. Basically that's what they think of iPhoneography. But if you look closer in Instagram, and you'll see some of this in my new ebook called Mobile Masters, some of the things that are going on there are beyond belief. I've been a designer for 30 years, and that's what I've been doing, creating images for end reports and looking for the very best and greatest new talent out there for, creating ads for my corporate clients, or even doing manipulation myself in Photoshop with images collage. And I tell you, I haven't seen this much new and exciting imagery, and it's really rekindled my love of image manipulation and possibilities.
It's interesting that you bring up the fine art photographers dismissing some of this. It reminds me of some of the traditional fine artists who dismissed digital art not all that long ago as, well, that's not really art if you don't use a brush or a pen or, something more traditional, if you're using a stylus and manipulating pixels. And that feeling seemed to die away very quickly. You think the iPhoneography thing will die, the bias against it will die away just as quickly?
I think it is, and it's been happening for the last 2 years, and been happening for the last 5 really. So it's about to burst, and I think that that will quickly disperse once people realize what they're looking at. I've been in a few galleries showing my work, and I go there, I call on the phone, I said, well, I'm a Philadelphia guy, I know you have a great photography gallery here, I'd love to show you what we're doing. I'm doing an iPhoneography. He sort of pauses and says, well, I have 5 minutes if you want to stop by tomorrow. So in doing that, an hour and a half later I'm leaving, and he's saying, we'll be in touch. So it's really amazing how it's really fun to say that I'm doing iPhoneography, and people say, oh, they're skeptical, and then you show them. I think the proof is in the prints. I mean, once you print out something, let's say 20 by 24, or even 46 by 32, which I've done for some of the shows I've had, people look at it and they scratch their head. It's just a wonderful feeling. It's that aha that they get, and I think that people are going to have to give in and realize that this is just another tool. It happens to be a tool that allows a lot of flexibility, and also people are learning techniques much quicker on sort of an exponential curve, because they're submitting these pictures to Instagram and they're getting likes from people that they respect, or people who do great art, and people are making comments. So you learn through that kind of appreciation. It's sort of a mass critique going on out there. Also, if you go to iPhone Art and submit to that, or Pixels at an exhibition, there's some incredible people there that you just have to keep up with. And you learn every day. You see something new, and there's good and bad in that trends move really quickly in and out, and one day a look is in, one day it's out. But if it's a classic image with good basic photo qualities, along with this digital manipulation done in a way that pushes the original image in the direction of the original intent, then that's when it hits. It's not just adding a filter, it's using putting effectiveness before effects, basically.
That's an interesting way to say it. I guess I'm a little surprised, maybe I shouldn't be, that there's a bias against the iPhone as a camera from some people, and yet, and I'm not a photographer of any accomplishment by any means, but is there the same kind of bias to say that, gee, I took this with a Hasselblad versus a Canon point and shoot? Do you fight the same battles there, or is it because the iPhone is not a dedicated image capture device that it does so many other things that bias exists?
Yeah, it's a good analogy. And I have had a Rolly 2 1/4. I've had an 8 by 10. I have a Canon Mark III. Yeah, it really, it's, it goes back to that old cliche. It's just a tool, and happens to be a tool that allows you to uncover things on a daily basis that you would never have uncovered. And the bias, as you say, yeah, I think it's just a snapshot as opposed to a fine art piece. If you say the difference between a Hasselblad, and a small point and shoot, I mean, people may gauge you from that. But if you don't know where it's coming from and you just see the end result, it doesn't really matter as long as the picture is true.
So, Dan, who would you say should come to this session? Should it be the average iPhone owner who maybe wants to learn a little bit about it, or is it the digital photography enthusiast who's looking to get more out of their phone, or everybody, anybody?
Everybody has an iPhone. I mean, everybody has a smartphone, let's say, and it can do a lot of the same stuff on the Android, of course. But and everybody, I think, picture taking has become, big again because of these mobile devices and because of Instagram and Facebook, and people want to stand out in Facebook or Instagram, and the everyday guys who want to learn how to really impress their friends with their skills, then yeah, that's a good person to come. Of course, there's a lot of fans of the speakers that are going to be here. Some of these speakers have 125,000 followers who, follow their blog or whatever, and it's a nice time to actually meet those people and show them your work on your iPhone, or get an idea from, bring your iPad, and at the little get-together afterwards, tap on Coachy's shoulder and say, hey, I really admire your work. What do you think I should do with this? Bring your iPad with you and show your work. Or even app developers who want to get, inside the mind of artists and people on the high end using iPhoneography, I would suggest to come. And bloggers and reporters, please, this whole underground movement of photography is about to come to life, and you should be the first to report it, because it's that's what the theme of it's called the Mobile Masters Sessions, Crossing the Threshold, and that's the theme. So that's kind of what I want to people to come away with, that wow, okay, it's here and it's viable. It's got a whole marketplace behind it with apps and equipment and bloggers and people writing ebooks and books like myself and Stephanie. So, don't dismiss it. Be the first to report it. It's here.
You mentioned a really interesting thing, I think, and it's especially true about every session I've ever been to at Macworld, iWorld. The presenters are not just presenters. They're not just up on a stage. I mean, of course they're up on a stage, but they don't just stay up on the stage. They are usually very, very accessible after the session or to discuss. There's often a lot of interaction. So it's not an us to them kind of thing. It's pretty much an all of us together. And it just is a different feel and a different experience. And you really can get some personal interaction with a lot of the people that you read their stuff or see their stuff online that maybe you wouldn't even have the opportunity to have online.
Well, absolutely. And there's two things I want to say about that. Number one, Knox Bronson uses this analogy a lot. He says it's like, he's from San Francisco and he's probably, 60 or so. He says it's a lot like, when the underground bands, rock and roll sort of, came out of nowhere to a degree, and it was all pretty much started, or a lot of it was started in San Francisco with the underground bands. It feels like that again to him with the, this underground movement of things going on, and people are really eager to share and very passionate. The people that are into this, like, I don't think I've met a more passionate group. But also we have an iPhoneography lounge that's set up that can be accessed during the day of the pre-show and also during the next 3 days after that during the trade show, where we're going to have some tables and some soft seating, and there's even going to be a few booths there, and Russell Brown is going to be there showing off some stuff. We have a wall of iPads with work from the Mobile Masters. There's going to be people there just hanging out with their thoughts and their work, and come on by. It's on the upper level. It's called the Hot Zone and the iPhoneography Lounge. And we're also, at the same time, I'm releasing this new ebook called Mobile Masters, and it's an interactive exploration of the work and thoughts of the people that are in the show or on the stage, and also many others. Really, there's 50 or more iPhoneographers that are in here. 30 of them have personal interviews and talk about their technique and show their apps and some of their processes, and I'm really excited about it. It's getting a lot of buzz. It's called Mobile Masters, and that's going to hit the 28th. We're going to release it then, and it's going to be $2.99. I'll probably release it free for the first day, but after that it's going to be $2.99. So it's a really good value. It's a really large app. It's 600 megs, so don't be frightened by that. It's worth it. Worth the download.
And where is that, Dan? Will that be on the iBook store? Or?
Yeah, in iTunes. I have several publications and ebooks that I've done. App Alchemy is the last one I did. Before that it was iObsess Companion. There's also App Alchemy Pocket. But here's sort of the layout. I don't know if you can see that or not. This is the layout of the book. I don't know if that's working for you or not.
Give us a rough idea.
You can actually scroll through. As you pan through, you can see multiple pieces of work or the process of the individual. You can tap here and the person tells you their story about their work.
Artist. I wasn't always an artist.
And then you can scroll through the type
since I discovered it in my
here
team.
and see.
I really haven't done any painting since my
read
early
about their
20s.
process, and it's got a lot of fun things in it as well. Other things.
Great. Well, I'll make sure I get links to the show notes. Hopefully, as soon as I can get it. If it's being released that day.
It's been approved by Apple, so it's pretty much sure thing that it will. It's set to launch midnight, 28th.
Great. And the iPhoneography event, it sounds like it's going pretty much in one fashion or another, the whole show. But when is the actual day of the presentations?
It's Wednesday, the 30th, all day. And there's also some photo walks on Saturday. Jack Collingsworth is going to have with some other people, and then there's some other talks over the next 2 days, Thursday and Friday. I'm speaking on Friday about App Alchemy and showing you some of my favorite app stacking techniques, and I think that's around 4 o'clock. I speak at 2:45 on Wednesday. So make sure you get there by then and stay for the party or the meet and greet. I don't know if it's going to be a party. I don't know whether we're going to have wine or whatever, but it should be fun.
That's great. That's great. So let's see. We have the tech talk you just mentioned. We have the iPhoneography event, and then we have iPhoneography activities going on all week. And you've got a new ebook coming out. Your plate's been pretty full the last few weeks.
It has been. I always go into these things, and my great people that I work with, and my coworkers, Laura and Brandon, and my wife Denise. We have a small design studio here in Philadelphia. They've all been pitching in and helping, and they're about pretty much fed up with my iPhoneography stuff. At this point, I've just been so preoccupied, and honestly, I'm going to go on a little bit of a sabbatical from sort of producing any new ebooks or that sort of things. I just want to create art next. I mean, I haven't even had time to create new work because I've been so busy with publishing and organizing. So I'm looking forward to sort of a little bit of a break from that and just getting back to shooting.
It'll be interesting to see how long you can last and before the bug gets you to do another event or do another book.
It's fun. Honestly though, it's there's a lot of people doing this, and 99% of the people I talk to, people have been doing it for 2 years like myself. There has really been no real financial reward. As a matter of fact, people are losing money doing this. and it speaks to the passion they have and what the thoughts they have, how forward thinking they might be about this, sort of risking their livelihoods and being preoccupied with this stuff, hoping that someday that it's going to be something that's perhaps we could break even with this stuff. You do it out of love, and that's when it's done the best. But it would be nice to find some sort of way to keep it viable with cash flow.
It'll happen. It happened with a lot of the other photography movements you're talking about.
Well, that's good to hear. I know you've done a great job for years, and it's good. Thank you for reassuring me. Did you hear that, guys? Did you hear that? It'll make money, right, Laura? And Laura, by the way, Laura Keisey, she's on Flickr. She's a phenomenal photographer. Not an iPhoneographer necessarily, but a real great straight photographer. Check her out.
Well, terrific. If you'll send me links for the show notes, I'll make sure that we link straight to her Flickr feed so you can find her. Dan, I really appreciate it. If people want to learn more about you and some of what all you do, is there a particular website or social media presence that you prefer to send them to?
Well, honestly, I've got so many things out there. If you just type in my last name, Marcolina, or Dan Marcolina, you'll see a lot of stuff, or iPhone Obsessed. I do have a little microsite for iPhone Obsessed. I'm on Instagram @Marcolina. I'm on Flickr @Marcolina. And on Twitter @Marcolina Design. I'm not a big social network guy necessarily. I wish I had more time to do that, but I don't. Facebook is there, but it's not really up to date in any kind of way. But the ebooks tell my story. I would go to iTunes and put in the name Marcolina or Marcolina Design. You'll see all the ebooks that we've done. And not just iPhoneography, there's some actual photography ones there as well. And that's where I express most of my inner thoughts. So if you want to really know.
Well, Dan, I appreciate you taking the time in the middle of a snowstorm to talk to us.
Yeah, it's really pretty out there, actually.
Yeah, until you start to drive in it, and then it's not quite so pretty.
Yeah, drive safe.
Yeah, you do the same, and we'll see you in San Francisco. I hope I get to stick my head into at least a little bit of the iPhoneography event. I think it's a fascinating topic, and it'll be interesting to have this conversation with you in a year or two to see where it has gone.
Great. Well, please introduce yourself. I'm looking forward to it.
Count on it.
All right.
Folks, that's Dan Marcolina. He's the organizer of the iPhoneography event at Macworld iWorld 2013. Please check it out. I will have links in the show notes so you can find everything we talked about. Mark your calendars for Dan's new book. It sounds like it should be a winner. Until the next time, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices, and I will see you in San Francisco. MacVoicesTV is part of the MacVoices Group at MacVoicesGroup.com. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at BackbeatMedia.com.